Hello and welcome to YVR's devlog number 11. This is Ryan, and I am so excited to take you through the past couple weeks worth of progress here in this video. Starting off in our starter town, we have a smelter built as well as the main house and a couple carts. And what I'm going to do is quit here to show off a much requested feature that is sitting on the table behind us in the main menu house. It is the delete save progress button. So if you run into any insurmountable challenges in the open world and you just need to wipe everything clean. Before we would just give people instructions about going into the app data folder and removing the save files, but this will do it all for you. So just press that button back there, you walk through the main door like I just did, and then you find yourself back in the open world, but now everything is gone, everything is wiped. We even have Skelly off on the right there, starting his tutorial fresh. So that is a quick fix to some of the issues that we're going to be encountering or that players are going to be encountering over time. You can see that I've reduced the costs of everything because implementing this and some other things did force us to do a full progress wipe. So there's a lot of items in the game that just cost one wood now just to make it easier to rebuild. But enough of the rebuilding. Let's go and look at another very requested feature, and that is being able to toggle between temporal AA and FXAA. So right now we're in FXAA, but I am going to quickly change it here to temporal AA or TXAA. And you'll notice that the menu gets a little blurrier, but the shimmering, the aliasing that you see in the environment will be greatly reduced. People do have definitely an aversion to TXAA. Some people do. They feel that it makes everything look blurry and it really contributes to motion sickness. So that's why we've made FXAA the default now. So anyways, you can go into the advanced setting like you saw me do and just change that. But let's head over in that direction and take a quick fast forward through a walk down the forest road next to the lake and check out the biggest, baddest addition to your VR to date, and that is our cave system. Spoiler alert, if you don't want to know where they are and you want to find it on your own, you should definitely not be watching this portion of the video as we are going to go through them in great detail and talk about why we're doing some of the things that we're doing and what exactly we are doing. So fairly nondescript entrance that we have in front of us here. Something that you might just miss if you were casually walking by and not see the massive structure that lies underneath. We've just let a torch sit here, lit and ready to go. This is going to be an item that you'll have to craft later and ignite later, but we wanted to get it in the game as fast as possible so that we can get feedback on how the light behaves. Is it bright enough? Is it not? Is it too bright? But yeah, anyways, find ourselves in this kind of the foyer of the cave, so to speak, and this is set up in a way to allow us to optimize. So this front room here is still part of the open world outside. So when the main level loads, this little front area loads, but the rest of the cave system right around this corner here is all a streaming level. So none of the memory is being used to load up any of these textures or these objects because you have to basically enter that room back there, that entry foyer, before it even starts loading the rest of this level. And what we're going for with these caves are a series of corridors connecting larger, more open rooms that will have interesting objects to go and find and see, or perhaps encounters and combat situations to get yourself into. So every large kind of opening here will have some different things to find, some different secrets, some different puzzles perhaps, and some different combat experiences. But right now, all we're doing is just laying down the kind of the scaffolding, the framework of this cave system, and then we're going to figure out what the best use of the space is that can be inspired by these interesting spaces. As I mentioned, we're going for a lot of those long corridors, connecting rooms, and one of the interesting items of interest, what probably one of my favorite ones, is this makeshift altar that we've put together. You know, something that was a place of worship a long time ago and long since forgotten, or maybe something that was quickly set up by kind of a group of bandits that had made camp in these caves. Either way, like I said, we're putting together all of this to provide inspiration for the puzzles and the encounters that will ensue later on after the main level is approved and finalized. One of the areas of balance that we're tweaking right now is how to make the corridors dark enough that they give that level of suspense, but not too dark that they tick you off, and allowing you to throw in cool things like these mushrooms in here to kind of break up break things up a little bit. But are these mushrooms? Are these crystals? Are they too bright? Do we want the player to have to rely on more on their torch? So just getting people into these caves and getting the general feedback is really what we're after. Leading all the way up to the grand chamber here. You're going to have to excuse the plants. We have an issue with the light map baking right now where the plants are not taking the lighting information properly, so they are super bright while everything else is dark and shadowed. But yeah, so this is kind of the nice the nice piece of eye candy within the caves, or I guess the biggest piece of eye candy within the caves, and wanting to create a very large open space that will lend itself well to interesting and challenging combat situations, like a large arena that you can fight off waves of enemies that come at you while you're trying to take a treasure or protect a location like the central location. But yeah, like I've mentioned before, the plants, it's just a weird bug that happened in terms of them just not accepting any of the lighting information, so they're just like fully lit while everything else is shadowed. Kind of annoying. But you can see we've got multiple tiers, kind of wrap a path that wraps itself around the exterior wall of the cave, just to give the player some interesting situations to use verticality to their advantage. And you can see there's a waterfall there, and there's putting probably a pond in there for some fishing, perhaps. And a lot of work being done right now on the materials, trying to make them appear wet. It's way harder than it should be. Really, on the surface, making wet materials is pretty easy, but getting them to react properly to baked lighting, some dynamic torches, glowy blue crystals, and whatnot, a bit of a challenge right now. And another fun thing with these caves that we get to do a lot more with, you'll see that there's a ton of foliage everywhere, right? And as the caves evolve, there's even going to be more foliage. So I imagine players are going to be looking at this and saying, why is there so much foliage in these caves, but not in the world outside? And the big optimization benefit of these caves right now is that we get to bake all of the lights. So that means all of the shadows, all of the lighting information for everything except for your torch is pre-computed and baked into the level. And real-time shadows, real-time lighting outdoors in the large open world is probably 75% of all of the graphical processing that is happening. So it's a massive resource sink. And it's the reason why we've had a lot of trouble optimizing these large outdoor spaces with thousands of trees, is because all of the shadows and all of the lighting of all of these trees has to be calculated in real time. But in this cave here, it's all pre-calculated. So your graphics, your GPU isn't having to do any work to calculate this, which means we can load the level up with a ton more stuff that we can't get away with outside, like way more plants, way more water features, way more interesting glowy lights, things like those light shafts that, I mean, you look at them right now and they really don't look like they're that big of a deal, but it's just a massive wall of semi-transparent and animated textures. And that is probably the biggest resource sink in the room right now, because we can't even optimize it the way we do other semi-transparent materials by applying what's called a temporal dithering to it. So it is that light shaft, as cool yet as subtle as it looks, is probably one of the biggest resource sinks in this entire cave system, because it's all dynamic, whereas everything else is pre-computed. But anyways, a little bit of behind the scenes of why it's so great to be working in these caves, because now we really get to open the floodgates a little bit with the amount of cool the cool little things that we get to put in there, mainly foliage and plants and other cool features. And as well as having space for like a dynamic torch. We were really scared in the open world of even having a single torch or like a fireplace casting dynamic lights, just because of what kind of performance implications that came with having one or two or even three dynamic lights. But anyways, we've worked our way up. We're going to go up the other side of the caves. You can see things getting pretty dark here, so we're experimenting with a little bit of darker areas. Really want the player to have to use that torch of theirs and feel kind of the oppressive darkness around them. And this is one of the open rooms where we're playing a little bit more with the geology of things, as opposed to interesting kind of altars or bandit objects left behind. And we can see there's different kind of stalactites and stalagmites over here, as well as like these dead end corridors that are going to go down. And as I mentioned, what we're doing is building the scaffolding right now. So we're just putting the layout together and polishing all of the features. But down the road, we very well might close off this corridor behind like a secret door or a puzzle that will open up to a treasure or something to discover for the player to discover here. So uh, really looking forward to players' feedback just on how the layout feels, if things are too bright, too dark, too big, too small, and then once we really get that all refined and locked in, then we start having a lot of fun with puzzles, combat, and all of that good stuff. So you can see again in this big open room, we're playing a lot more with geology. We've got some cool rock formations and some crystals glowing behind little openings here. And I think this is one of our little rock bridges. Trying to get a lot of water into these caves. We'll probably have some dripping water here and there. And once again, playing with that wet rock look, which is proving to be more of a challenge than any of us really thought it would be. Getting sounds in, that's another big one. We kind of have a discussion on the forums about what kind of sounds you guys want to hear in here. Dripping water, running water. We've got some cool little waterfalls here. This bridge that I'm standing on was certainly an example of what should have been fairly easy, but Unreal just decided to make it a little bit of a nightmare where you just randomly fall off the bridge or teleport through the bridge. It's all the reason why a level like this might be 3 weeks in the making of just all of those unexpected things that shouldn't happen, that no one would expect would happen with a polished engine like Unreal, but still end up do happening. So yes, here we go. We find ourselves at the other entrance on the other side of that cliff structure. So we can just go out here and find ourselves on the other side of the lake. And I think, yeah, I don't know if you can see it. There's another torch off to the left there that I left behind. I left off. Oh, there it is, right there. So plenty of torches, but you don't want to lose these because if you do, then you're probably not going to have a torch for a while until we give you the ability to make them from scratch. But yep, we don't need that. We're out in the open world anymore, so we don't need that. And we can find ourselves back in the town to show off the other much requested feature that we have here, and that is the basket spawner. So our basket spawner is something for players that have dropped their basket in the forest before and need a new one. Now you want to be very careful with this because if you have something in your basket when you spawn a new one, it will destroy that other basket as you just saw and lose all of the contents in the basket. So yeah, just want to be careful not to have a fully loaded basket before you despawn it. So let's go over to the weapon stall. Again, all the weapons are free for the next couple of days to kind of help you guys rebuild. And we're going to grab the I think this is just the European crossbow and show you another nice fix that a lot of people are going to be pretty happy to see, and that is that you can properly reload crossbows now. So before the belt, that big blue circle was getting in the way, preventing the crossbows from being properly reloaded, but you can see right now that is no longer an issue. And now that we have proper crossbow mechanics in, we can obviously shoot them, but I want to show another difference here is you can fire them with one hand if you want, and you'll see that my hands have that little shake to them from the lighthouse tracking system not being 100%. And if you want to minimize that, all you got to do is reach out, grab the front of it, and what it's going to do is it's going to dampen all of those micro movements and give you a much steadier shot. So if you're trying to hit a smaller moving target, that's definitely what you want to be doing. And it also just makes it a lot easier to aim, as the aiming itself is the movements are dampening. So you can just think of grabbing that front of the crossbow like aiming down sights in a shooter. So anyways, now that we've got a working crossbow, let's put it to good use. See if we can find ourselves a target of nature here. Maybe a nice peaceful deer, perhaps? I don't know. What could be behind this tree? Definitely isn't a peaceful deer. So as you can see here, let's get a little bit closer and get that going again. Yeah, you can see that we have a wolf in front of us, so our wolf AI is in. Let's give him a quick shot, and you can see what happens when wolves get shot is they just run straight at you, and I'll demonstrate what they do elsewise. And good thing I have my axe on my belt so we can take this little guy down. But wolves will attack straight out if they are attacked first. We've got sound, we've got animations, and you can even go up to them just like you would a deer and harvest just one meat, so not quite as much meat, but eventually being able to harvest the pelts, maybe a skull, I don't know. But let's go grab our trusty crossbow here and let's go take a look at another AI behavior for the wolves. Gotta make sure we're fully loaded and ready to rock and roll. But so like I said, the wolves have two attack behaviors. One of them is to come straight at you. Now, if they get hit first, they're going to go straight at you and try to take you down. Now, the other one is if a wolf has kind of stumbled upon you, hey there, or if you have stumbled upon it but didn't know it, it'll give you a quick growl, like you can see there, saying just back away, buddy, back away. But if you ignore that, it'll let out a pretty cool little howl. Now, I've killed the other wolf already, so there's nothing for that howl to do. But what happens is the howl will attract all wolves within a half a kilometer radius. Now, it looks like we're in the tree hitbox here, so I'm getting wood out of the air, so we'll probably want to look at fixing that. But yeah, like I said, that howl, what it's going to do is it's going to attract any wolf from about a half a kilometer away to your location. So you really want to make sure that you're aware of where you are and what's around you. So we can. Oh, poor little guy. Yeah, didn't have a chance. So let's show off. Let's show off that howl mechanic. And actually, we'll show off more of the pack mentality. You can see as soon as the one wolf gets hit with an arrow, the other wolf immediately lets out a howl and then will go after you. So they almost, it's like they're forming a pack and they're attacking as one. Again, we'll probably make these wolves a little bit tougher because they're a little bit easy to kill here. But you can see as they're doing more and more damage to me like that, the picture becomes less and less saturated, so it becomes more black and white. Trying to figure out the best way to show player health in VR without having like a HUD is definitely a challenge. And one of the ways that we're doing that right now is just desaturating the image. So you can see we're back at base camp here, and we got all of the color back in our field of view as we've gradually regenerated our health. But one of the best ways to regenerate health, if you can, is just to cook your meat. So you just put the meat up on the rack there, and it'll fall off when it's done. Put it in your mouth, and you will get an instant boost of health, but also the regen rate for your health will go up and is tied to your hunger. So if you don't have any food in your belly, your health is going to definitely regenerate slower than it would otherwise. Anyways, that comes to the end of the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and any questions or whatnot, just let us know in the comment section below. And looking forward to chatting with you guys next time. Make sure to head over to facebook.com/yourvr or head over to www.playyour.com for more information. All right, adios.